News now begins in the west of the continent, where in the wake of a devastating attack by suspected Boko Haram terrorists on the Jakana Police Station in Konduga local government area of Borno State, security forces have significantly ramped up their presence along the Maiduguri-Jakana road. The assault, which resulted in the tragic deaths of 2 individuals, has prompted a thorough examination and reinforcement of security protocols in the region. News Central's Mark Rawa brings us details in this report.
A 45-kilometer drive from Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, to Jakana in Konduga local government area. Around 2 p.m. on Sunday, armed militants suspected to be Boko Haram raided the Jakana Police Station. The assault claimed the lives of a police officer and a civilian.
The terrorists destroyed these 2 patrol vehicles, setting them ablaze. They also made off with motorcycle, among other equipment, in the police station in Jakana. This incident underscores the ongoing security challenges in Borno State, which calls for more effort in terms of tackling the insurgents and, of course, taking proactive measures to forestall attacks by insurgents.
The Jakana community go about their normal day-to-day activities, as some of the people are even unaware of the attack.
And if I was surviving when I call Bundu, I'm a about tiding day about. I'm a back mother, alhamdulillah. Lemmer Malam Shave, I full attire the game, I'm our current come in about. To the Levi to Andanado, Nyama Dona Kumbuede. Well, I let Zoma Zokane, Aviana, Zokane, Sheburtans, Basmaradin.
Alhamdulillah, Kamaro, Kazi Vika, Brasana, Aima Kamaro, Levana, Zitinaba, Amabia, Nasha, Adama, Neleva Bandibia, Adamabia.
Police have since commenced the investigation, as measures are said to have been taken to prevent further attacks. Intensified routine vehicle and passenger inspections are now ongoing to ensure the safety of commuters and residents in the affected areas. In Jakana for News Central, Umoru Kirawa.
In the meantime, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum has confirmed the delivery of the federal government's 20 trucks of 25-kilogram bags of rice and 90 trucks of fertilizers for onward distribution to the vulnerable citizens of the state and farmers. Governor Zulum made the confirmation on Sunday in Monguno local government area of the state, where it distributed 10,000 naira cash each and wrappers to 45,000 women and 25 kilogram of bags of rice from the federal government, as well as 10 kilogram bags of beans as input to farmers to 35,000 male heads of households. News Central's Mark Rawa again reports that the governor noted that the distribution of palliatives is not meant to create dependency, but to support the community so that they can engage in farming and pick up the pieces of their lives. Let's now tell you that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and oil marketers have blamed the ongoing fuel scarcity in Lagos and the Federal Capital Territory on disruptions in supply at key depots. Reports indicate that some oil marketers and transporters have reduced the number of trucks dispatched to load petrol, anticipating a planned statewide hunger protest. Some PMS dealers have instructed their drivers to park their trucks, particularly those transporting fuel from coastal depots in the south to the hinterlands in the north. According to oil marketers, this reduction in fuel distribution has contributed to the long queues at petrol stations in regions including Abuja, Nasarawa, Niger, Lagos and Ogun states. The NNPCL stated that the fuel queues were also caused by hitches in the discharge operations of a couple of vessels. The company assured that it is working round the clock with all stakeholders to resolve the situation and restore normalcy in operations. To discuss this, I am joined by Chuks Emeka, oil and gas consultant. Chuks Emeka, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. Well, we can hardly hear you, but we hope to have meaningful conversation on this. Now, given the claims by both NNPCL and oil marketers about disruptions in supply, what is your assessment of the primary causes of the current fuel scarcity?
Okay, anyway, let me just emphasize strongly that we are having serious policy challenges in this country. And I have to be very, very clear about this. The NNPC is not telling us the truth. They don't want to tell us what's going on. And everyone is in the dark concerning the issues about fuel scarcity. Prices of fuel is increasing every day. Different filling stations are selling at different prices as of today. So we don't even know what is the standard price of petrol anymore. My discussion with some few marketers, they were actually saying that they are scared of the protest coming up, so they don't want to have themselves up in the gap with their filling stations being destroyed by the reason of the protest that is upcoming. So most of them are not really don't really want to fill their tanks at the moment. So but that is just by the way. I think the real challenge boils down to NNPC. NNPC has not been able to tell us what's going on concerning fuel and the petrol challenges we have. I don't know why they can't come out openly and tell Nigeria this is the challenge we are having. We know that NNPC is the only sole importer of PMS specifically as of today. And then they are bringing this thing after subsidizing the prices in this aftermarket at the cost of 530 naira per liter. Between 500 and 530, that's what they are bringing it into the depots across Nigeria. Most especially they use these depots like the Telecom tanker in Lekan. These are the major destinations where their products go to.
Okay.
The challenge now is that we don't even have any clue on what NNPC and the marketers have reached an agreement. The agreement they have at the moment. Because as a few weeks ago, a few weeks or few months ago, the marketers are speculating that they are saying that they cannot sell the price at 650 or 630 or 620 or whatever because they are limiting the cost.
Okay.
They can't meet that demand.
Well,
they are trying to go up to 800 or 850.
Okay, so I understand that you're laying the blame at the footsteps of the NNPC for not communicating more. They've said that they're trying as much as possible to improve the distribution channel of fuel. But then let's look at of course, the independent marketers with the price increase that we're seeing now. Some people are speculating that there's a deliberate attempt to actually create artificial scarcity to actually inflate the prices that we're seeing. And of course, we see the NNPC also blaming the body for not loading up. But then if you are to paint a true picture of this, do you think it is some way to actually milk dry the Nigerian citizens, whether or not there's going to be a protest coming up?
Yeah, anyway, the marketers have been crying dry, so this has been since last year. They want to increase the price. That's what they've been saying. They want to increase the price. They are not comfortable with the 630 or whatever they are selling at the moment. They want to move the price. They want to put the benchmark at approximately 850. And the federal government is saying, no, they can't do that now. They're going to cause more hardship for the citizens. The truth there is that the policy of subsidy and fuel and the PMS that we are having now is not helping the citizens to stop. Like what I'm talking. Because of the jack-up of price in the cost of fuel, it's affecting practically every aspect of the economy. From foodstuffs to movement of goods, to logistics, everything is being affected. When this subsidy issue was raised at the beginning of this regime, we told them, don't do that now. Find a leveling ground. Let the CNG buses be available. Let the system work well first. Enter into the government. Get down, settle down first before you move subsidy. Now, I can tell you with all honesty, the government doesn't even know what to do. The process that is coming up now is as a result of the removal of the primary reason was as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. Because when fuel subsidy was removed, everything in this country went haywire. Price of goods jacked up, transportation moved up people who have been, let me emphasize this.
Okay.
If you don't know the power and the force that pressure to be had in the economy. When I ask people who bring in, who export goods from Kano to Lagos, they normally use, what do you call it, they normally move these goods and bring it to Lagos and sell.
Okay.
These goods. Do you know that the removal of press subsidy affected them so badly that most of them could not do that business anymore?
All right, Chukwuemeka, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Many thanks for staying with us. And I'll tell you that the Amnesty International has warned against threatening protesters, saying doing so would undermine the legacy of President Bola Tinubu since the End Bad Governance in Nigeria started gaining traction on social media. Many top government officials have advised against the demonstrations, arguing that the protests could be hijacked by hoodlums. They urged the citizens to have faith in the current administration, noting that the president is committed to addressing the welfare and concerns of Nigerians. However, the chairman of Amnesty International in Nigeria, Awal Musa Rafsanjani, commended security agencies for democratically conducting themselves. Ahead of the planned End Bad Governance nationwide protest in August, human rights lawyer Ebun-Olu Adegboruwa has asked the Nigerian Communications Commission to probe telecommunication operators' alleged disconnection of subscribers. In a statement on Sunday, the senior advocate of Nigeria warned that telcos should not attempt to sabotage the forthcoming protest against economic hardship in Nigeria by restricting internet access among displeased citizens. The senior lawyer said the contracts between telecom companies and their subscribers remain sacrosanct and should not be tampered with arbitrarily. The senior lawyer had written security agencies requesting protection for protesters under the umbrella of the Take It Back movement come next month. We also tell you that the Nigeria Police Force on Sunday defended its request for the names and other details of intending participants of the forthcoming August nationwide End Bad Governance protest. Force spokesman Muyiwa Adejobi said having such details is standard procedure to ensure the safety of all participants and prevent any unlawful activities. The police had last week made the demand to protect peaceful protesters, but many Nigerians, including activist Deji Adeyanju, rejected such a condition. In a statement on Sunday, Adejobi said it is vital to clarify that the IGP has never denied the constitutional right of every citizen to freedom of association and expression, but has rather, at every point, emphasized that the right is to peaceful assembly and expression. Amidst the apprehension of a planned nationwide protest, the All Progressives Congress has urged organizers to reconsider their demand for President Bola Tinubu to scrap the 1999 Constitution, describing it as a tall order. The party's National Secretary, Ajibola Bashiru, conveyed this message in Abuja after a meeting with the Forum of APC State Chairmen to discuss the protest's modalities. Bashiru said the renewed call for the president to abandon the Constitution he swore to uphold is a mission impossible, as President Tinubu alone lacks the authority to unilaterally discard or alter the 1999 Constitution. He also emphasized that the 15 demands outlined by the protest organizers are not issues to be addressed through protests. Joining me on the news to discuss this is a legal practitioner, Evan Sufeli, and he'll be sharing his thoughts on this. Thank you so much, Evan Sufeli, for coming to our studios to talk about this. Evans, I can't actually hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you very well.
All right, fantastic. Now, the protesters are demanding for the scrapping of the 1999 Constitution. Is that possible? And what are the legal implications of such a move?
No, it does not lie in the mouth of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to scrap the 1999 Constitution. If you are talking about amendment, or if you are talking about the promulgation of another constitution entirely, it has to do with a lot of issues. The National Assembly will be involved, the people will be involved, and there will be perhaps maybe a national conference wherein, or perhaps they will consider the previous one the NADECO and the previous conferences we've had, those ones will need to be considered if that is the case. But that the president should just scrap it out, it's not the law to do so. This president took an oath to defend this constitution, but it's unfortunate that he's not doing so. He's not doing so because he's not organized and he's not forthright in his approach to governance. And that is the problem we're having today. Nigeria is in a state of quagmire just because the executive have failed ostensibly, okay, to look at the plight of the people and look the people eyeball to eyeball and say, you know what, we'll fix the problem, we'll fix your pain, and we'll ensure that we govern Nigeria well. The president is not doing that. He removed subsidy thoughtlessly. He didn't know what to do. He lacked systems, he lacked methods, he does not understand governance. And the people are saying right now, you need to do right or they go on the street. And it is their right to so do by the Constitution. Nobody can stop protests. Nobody can stop. And this idea of asking people, telling people that, yes, you're right to protest, but don't protest.
Now, Evans, I would probably might say the government might have retracted on, the false move it made or the wrong move it made at the inception of governance by now rolling out giving out palliatives in terms of food, rolling out, loan schemes to students in schools, rolling out the CNG conversion plan, and, trying as much as possible to douse the tension by mitigating the impact of the policies that are brought aboard. So don't you think that these things that the government has done over time should be some sort of cushioning, and of course for the people to actually look at that and say probably the government is actually doing something in terms of that plight?
No, the palliative have not been effective. Okay, why disrupt the lives of the people only for you to now come back and start to scout and excavate a failing strategy to bring them back to track? Okay, it's unnecessary. You just, you won election, and the day that you are being sworn in, you don't even know what the records are. You don't know what the parameters are, and you just by mere impulsive proclamation. You don't rule 200. You don't lead 200 million people impulsively. It is never done, and that is why the protest is sacrosanct. You see, they got confused and they were talking about, okay, we're going to address it, palliative for some million Nigerian citizens. That one didn't work. At the end of the day, they took the money and gave it to governors. Governors did not do anything on palliatives, and then the issue became terribly bad. Okay? If the president had been sworn in and he took his time to look at the parameters, okay, to look at the possible consequences of that action, then he would have been able to navigate and manage in a way that we're able to come to a safe place. But what he did was impulsive. And he has failed to admit to that, because the arrogance, again, is another issue that we're talking about. And then the public are saying that there's a limit to which you can govern people wrongly. You floated the naira, you did all sorts of things, some assaulting policies and all that, and you made the whole country a place that people are unable to habit economically. Okay. So what do you expect the citizens to do? They will go out there and protest. Okay? All right. And the government should ensure that this issue they talk about, those who are hijacking, the fear that somebody will hijack it, it is the responsibility of government to ensure that it is not hijacked. That's their duty. They shouldn't be throwing that to the people.
I understand, of course, I understand, Evans. Now, let's look at protests on the side of the protesters. So what are the legal rights of citizens to protest in Nigeria in a setting like this? And are there specific rules or laws governing protests and demonstrations so that it doesn't go south and they don't want foul?
There are rules governing protests, okay? It is the people's right to assemble peacefully and then air their grievances peacefully, okay? We're talking about peaceful protests now. That right is the right of the citizens to so do. The right to protest is one of the earliest rights that made it up to, the Bill of Rights, okay, which is actually universal. And the guiding principle is that it must be devoid of violence, okay? And in the process of protest, it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that it does not break down, okay, that violence does not ensue as a result of that. So, but when they keep saying that it is your right to protest, but don't protest because of the fear that some hoodlums will hijack it, and I see that that is unfortunate. It further deepens the conversation that this government have no systems and method, do not understand governance. What the government should do, the executive, is to empower the security forces to be in the protest and ensure that they're able to quell any issue that has to do with breakdown of law and order or those who want to hijack it. That's just what, but as to say people should not protest, I don't know how you govern people this way. As far as leadership is failing anywhere in the world, there must be protests. And mind you, Nigerians protest every day. That's the truth. Some people protest in their homes. Some protest on their streets. Okay. Some protest in communities, in their schools and all that. As anywhere governance is failing, where leadership is failing, people will protest. So why don't you address these issues? I mean, the government have never one day talked about these primus issues that are affecting the citizens that they ought to address so that the citizens will not go out of hand. They keep saying, don't go and protest, don't go and protest. You're not fixing anything. Well, okay. You're not fixing anything. After 1 year, you are saying you want to, I mean, what do you need time for? You're telling the citizens that they should give the government time. Time to do what? Time to keep mismanaging the people? The government should do what it ought to do by law. Do you think, Evans, do you think that a dialogue can suffice at this time during the course of these protests? Maybe there could be some compromise for a dialogue. Well, the dialogue is important, but the truth is that protest is part of dialogue. Okay? It's part of it. Protest does not mean war. It does not mean fight. It's people demonstrating and expressing peacefully their grievances. And that should be allowed. I don't think any government should be afraid of that. All right, so now, Evan, so now the Nigerian police is saying that, would-be protesters should submit their details for proper documentation and protection. Of course, do you think that it's anything we need to hold on to? There's no law that says so. But if that is a part of the way they want to organize it, and then to ensure that there's a face between the government and the protesters, that is fine. But it should not be using bad faith against them thereafter, because we saw that during the NSAS protest. I mean, the NSAS protest was very peaceful. It was government that came and introduced violence to it. The soldiers came to introduce violence to it. Then today, when they tell the story, they will say that some hoodlums hijacked it. No hoodlum hijacked it. Soldiers came there to shoot people. They introduced violence. Soldiers will stay away from that place. Otherwise, when they get there, they will introduce violence again to it. Then the government will turn around and start chasing the citizens. That the citizens are the one creating the violence. There's no violence whatsoever. Peaceful protest is what people are agitating for. And they should be allowed to do that under the law. It is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, through which government derive our legitimacy. That the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. That is section 14.2 of the Constitution. If you don't allow the people to protest, then the government is going to create more problem for itself. It is better you allow the people to protest now, because the way you are governing them, if they don't protest now, you prevent them from protesting now, they will always come back to this protest. That is the truth, because the government have no hold of the situation. It does not have capacity to manage the economy. It does not have capacity to prevent insurgencies from overrunning the country. And we have seen that it cannot even handle the exchange rate, the naira, the dollar, the foreign, and all that. So the people must protest, because the reason they are going to do that is that governance is failing. And anywhere in the world where governance fails, people will protest. Even if you look at the religious rites all over across all religion, wherein leadership failed at different points in time in human history, people protested, and it is critical. People will protest. Evan Sufeli, thank you so much for talking to us at this time. Welcome. We appreciate that. Now, stakeholders in the Niger Delta region, south of Nigeria, have called on President Bola Tinubu to declare a state of emergency on the ongoing East-West Road due to its economic benefits to the region and Nigeria in general. The road was awarded 18 years ago to connect several key states in the oil-rich region, but remain uncompleted. In this special report, News Central correspondent Austin Azu seeks to unravel the delay and the nightmare experienced by motorists and commuters on a daily basis.
The East-West Road, with over 740 kilometers span and more than 40 short bridges, start from Lagos in the west and terminated in Calabar, Cross River State, is a nerve that connects the nation's oil and gas wealth to the rest of the world. The deplorable state of the road in recent times leaves so much to be desired, as it has become an almost death trap to the citizenry. Unfortunately, Traveling on the east-west road requires one to be prepared to spend between 2 and 3 days before getting to one's destination, as a result of unavoidable encumbrances in between.
At times, if you go to the GSC roundabout where we normally load Port Harcourt from, the drivers don't even go to Port Harcourt for some days now because the road is cut into two. If you manage to go, when you come back, you end up in the mechanic workshop with your vehicle. So the road is nothing to talk about.
Not just bad, causing damage to vehicles, cause a lot of insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and all that.
Government should come and fix the road for us so that we can have good road and do our business.
The bitter experience of commuters spending many hours or days in the traffic that spans as long as over 3 kilometers stretch on both lanes of the road saw the ultimate death of travelers in the tanker explosion between Delta Edo boundary in 2023, which could have been avoided.
This is the exact spot when some persons lost their lives due to tanker explosions that claims their lives. Most of them were buried at this particular spot, which is not far away from Koko Junction, here in Delta State. From the entrance into Delta State from Edo State, one could see ongoing construction work on the east-west road.
Same tragic story repeated itself a few months ago when a petrol-laden tanker ran into the houses in Ometa in Okwe local government area of Delta State, killing 8 persons on the spot and razed down houses.
A very, very sad incident. Commiserating with my colleague Rivers, what happened a few days back. This is happening in my state. Very sad, very sad, very, very sad.
The story is same across the region as heavy-duty vehicles conveying goods like house, iron rods, cement and consumables from east to west and vice versa are forced to spend over 2 days at the dangerous spots, likely exposing them to kidnappers, armed robbers, among other criminal elements. The dish causes some long trucks to tumble over, thereby worsening any vehicular movement. The road project, which was conceived in 2006 by the administration of Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo, remains uncompleted to date, despite huge funds running into billions of dollars claimed to have been spent. At the recently held NDDC Stakeholders Summit in Port Harcourt, notable speakers want the federal government to expedite action on the completion of the project to unlock the full economic potentials of the Niger Delta communities.
Before now, the East-West Road was under the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Development. I don't know what happened. They took it away. They have returned NDDC from the presidency. Returning the East-West Road to the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta is one bold decision that this government will take. And if you return it there, we will have access to the minister. Situation daily report we get to him. But each time you want to reach Omai, he said that is on the coastal road, it's on the Goja road, it's on the northern road. We appreciate what he's doing. But President Bola Tinubu had no reason to wait further to return the East-West Road to the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Development.
Let the legislators at the national level from South-South meet and lead delegation to Mr. President that to demand for the immediate rehabilitation and completion of the East-West Road.
There are more political undertone as regards the abandonment of the East-West Road. A lot of money has been invested on that project, but of course what you see there is insignificant.
But all attempts to get the controller, Federal Ministry of Works' attention, who oversees the project in Delta State, was unsuccessful, as the Director of Works at the Federal Secretariat in Asaba declined comments. But the Minister of Works, David Umahi, while expecting some ongoing projects, said the federal government's renewed commitment to completing the East-West Road remains sacrosanct, even as he attributed the delay to climate change. He said the government has deployed the use of reinforced concrete technology on the long-delayed projects to ensure that segments of the road do not fail again.
But we appeal to the public to please bear with us. This is the effect of climate change. People must know that the priorities of this government is not only road, even though it's first among it was. But the president is doing everything possible, even going outside the budgetary provisions, working with the National Assembly to provide, intervention fund to cater for these roads. And we can't blame the present administration. We can't blame the past administration. This is over 30 years of neglect. And this is also over 30 years of doing the wrong pavement. But Mr. President, who started concrete pavement when he was governor in Lagos State, has directed that some of these troubling sections should be done with concrete.
While the people in the region are hopeful, they believe the federal government should match this ways with actions so as to ensure a speedy completion of the key projects. In Delta, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Many thanks for staying with us. Mali's army and its Russian allies suffered a major setback and significant losses while fighting separatists in the country's north. The West African nation's military leaders who took power in a 2020 coup have made it a priority to retake all the country from separatists and jihadi forces, particularly in Kidal, a pro-independence northern bastion. Spokesman for the CSP-DPA alliance, Mohamed El Maloud Ramadani, said their forces decisively obliterated the Mali army and its allies on Saturday, and a large amount of equipment and weapons were seized or damaged and prisoners taken. Mali has been unsettled by violence by jihadi and criminal groups since 2012. Next, now I'll tell you that South African former President Jacob Zuma has officially been expelled from the ANC. He was found guilty by the organization of prejudicing its integrity by forming the MK party, a rival of the African National Congress. Zuma's hearing was held last week. The party said it could appeal its ruling within 21 days. Zuma is the first former leader to be thrown out of the ANC, which he joined in the late 1950s when it was a liberation movement fighting against the apartheid system of white minority rule. Well, I'll tell you that Algeria's defense ministry said on Sunday that military forces have killed 3 dangerous terrorists during a raid in the country's north. Authorities regularly report terrorist killings, often referring to armed Islamist groups that have remained active in a North African country years after its civil war, which ended in 2002. It named the 3 slain men as Deba Boumediene, Amnechi Ibrahim, and Alale Mohammed, without elaborating on their group affiliation. According to the statement, 2 Kalashnikov-type submachine guns, ammunition, and other objects were seized during the military operation. Let's now tell you that Senator Kamala Harris, during her first public speech, said she wants to regain the trust of Americans after announcing that she is seeking to become the first African-American woman to hold the office of U.S. president. She also comments on the shutdown, saying Donald Trump is holding the American people hostage over a vanity project that he calls a wall. Harris's presidential campaign said it brought in $200 million in the 1 week since President Biden exited the race and endorsed Harris, as the bulk of the Democratic Party has rallied behind her campaign and bolstered the late entry into the race. In the meantime, the United States and Japan have criticized China and Russia following high-level discussions on enhancing already close defense collaboration in Tokyo. A joint statement issued after talks in Tokyo between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and their Japanese counterparts said China's foreign policy seeks to reshape the international order for its own benefit at the expense of others. They also reiterated their strong objections to China's unlawful maritime claims, militarization of reclaimed features, and threatening, including the provocative activities in the South China Sea. The communique also criticized Russia's growing and provocative strategic military cooperation with China, as well as Moscow's procurement of ballistic missiles and other material from North Korea for use against Ukraine.
Now, this will be the most significant change to U.S. Forces Japan since its creation, and one of the strongest improvements in our military ties with Japan in 70 years.
Let's now join the business desk for business stories.
In business, Ethiopia is set to introduce a floating exchange rate for its currency, the birr, as part of broader economic reforms aimed at addressing chronic dollar shortages and boosting foreign investment. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced the decision, stating that the move is essential to correct foreign exchange distortions and balance of payment deficits. The Horn of Africa nation has grappled with a managed floating exchange rate system that has hindered imports and profit repatriation. By allowing the birr to fluctuate freely, the government hopes to alleviate currency scarcity, stimulate private sector growth, and align import and export prices with market realities. This policy shift comes as Ethiopia seeks to secure over $10 billion in financing from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank. An IMF meeting to discuss the country's loan request is scheduled for this week. Egypt has secured $340 million in new investments to bolster its oil and gas industry. The Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources signed agreements with Shell and Chevron Energy to increase production in key areas. Shell Energy will invest $222 million to expand operations in the Western Delta region, aiming to produce an additional 150 to 200 million cubic feet of natural gas by the end of the year. The company also reported successful exploration efforts in the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, Chevron Energy and KUFPEC committed $120 million to develop the Gisium and West Long areas in the Gulf of Suez. The partnership plans to drill 9 wells and increase crude oil production to 26,000 barrels per day. Both companies expressed optimism about Egypt's investment climate and their commitment to expanding operations. That's our offering on the business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly.
We now join the sports desk for more updates.
In the world of sport, the Super Falcons of Nigeria suffered their second defeat at the Paris 2024 Olympics, narrowly losing 1-0 to world champion Spain. Despite a strong performance, Nigeria failed to capitalize on their opportunities, marking their second consecutive loss in a match they had the potential to win. Spain's decisive moment came from a free kick, with Alexia Putellas finding the net after Nigerian goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie was caught off a line. Next up for Nigeria is their final group game against Japan. Meanwhile, their counterpart Zambia faced a heartbreaking defeat against Australia, losing 6-5 despite a historic hat-trick from Barbara Banda. Zambia initially took the lead but could not hold on, ultimately succumbing to the Australians in a high-scoring thriller. Team Mexico's women archery team secured the country's first medal in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, winning bronze in the women's team archery event. The team, consisting of Alejandro Valencia, Ana Puella Vasquez, and Angela Ruiz, triumphed over the Netherlands with a score of 6-2 to win bronze medal. This marks Mexico's 4th medal in the archery discipline and the 74th in the nation's Olympic history. Spanish tennis player Rafael Nadal is set to play against Serbia's Novak Djokovic in what promises to be an Olympic Games tennis blockbuster. Nadal's meeting with Djokovic will be the 60th of their great careers. Nadal and Djokovic have played 10 times at the Roland Garros, first meeting in 2006, with Nadal leading the pair head-to-head at 8-2 in the French capital. Nadal, who has won 14 of his 22 Grand Slam titles on the clay at Roland Garros, defeated 83rd ranked Martin Fucsovics 6-1, 4-6, 6-4 in the first round, despite having a strap-in on his injured right thigh. Finally, in the world of sport, George Russell has been disqualified from the result of the Belgian Grand Prix after his Mercedes was found to be underweight following the race. This means teammate Lewis Hamilton has been promoted to first, taking the win at the Belgian Grand Prix. Russell had taken victory at the event following a one-stop strategy which saw him notch his hard tyres to the checked flag and just hold off Hamilton by half a second. However, a technical delegate's report released after the race stated that while the car was initially being found to be compliant with the minimum weight of 798 kg, 2.8 litres of fuel was then removed. As such, Hamilton is promoted to position 1, while Oscar Piastri has taken position 2. Charles Leclerc moves up to position 3. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we look at some of our top stories again. Terrorists raid Jakana Police Station in Borno State, leave casualties. Nigerian telcos accused of plans to restrict internet access during nationwide protest. We also told you that South Africa's former President Zuma was expelled from the ANC party. Do send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. And you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, StarTimes, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.